The day I realized my daughter thought I was worth more dead than alive, I was trimming the rose bushes my late wife planted. My name's Michael Turner, 49, retired fire inspector from Dallas. I've spent my life preventing disasters, not living inside one, until my own family built it for me. When my wife Grace passed 2 years ago, our house felt like an echo. My daughter Emily and her husband Ryan moved in temporarily to help me adjust. I believed them. Grief makes you believe anything that sounds like love. They took over quietly. First the kitchen, then the mail, then the bills. "Dad, let me handle the finances," Ryan said. "You've done enough." I thought it was kindness, until I started getting calls about my credit line increase and a new insurance policy naming Ryan as contact. Then came the insult that split something in me forever. One morning, a man in a beige suit knocked on my door. "Mr. Turner," he said, "I'm with the Dallas County Court. We're here to confirm your residence as part of your guardianship review." I blinked. "My what?" He checked his clipboard. "Your daughter Emily and her husband filed a petition declaring you medically and mentally unfit to manage your estate. Guardianship hearings next Tuesday." The world went quiet, the kind of quiet I used to hear before a structure fire collapsed. That evening, Emily sat across from me at the dinner table, voice soft, rehearsed. "Dad, it's just paperwork. You've been forgetful. We want to make sure you're safe." I looked at her, my only child, and said, "Safe from who?" Ryan poured himself another glass of wine. "From yourself," he said. They'd already moved my medication bottles into a locked cabinet. My truck keys were missing. My own daughter smiled gently while her husband explained that, "This is for your own good." I went to my room, shut the door, and sat in the dark, staring at the framed photo of Grace holding newborn Emily. The same woman who once said, "Love can heal or it can own you. Watch which kind your child grows into." That night, I searched the corners of the house I'd built with my bare hands and found something they hadn't noticed. The small security camera I'd installed years ago near the pantry. The one connected to an old cloud drive. It had been recording every dinner, every conversation, every whispered plan. If they wanted a legal war, I suddenly had ammunition. By the time Tuesday came, I wasn't a father anymore. Just a case file with my name misspelled on the cover. The courthouse smelled like coffee and paperwork. Emily sat 2 seats away from me, dressed in soft beige, her hair tied neatly, looking every bit the worried daughter she'd practiced being. Ryan sat beside her, his arm around the back of her chair, whispering occasionally like this was a school play, and they already knew the ending. The judge skimmed the petition. "Petitioners claim Mr. Turner is showing signs of cognitive decline, memory lapses, and financial instability," she read aloud. "Do you have medical documentation?" Ryan stood confidently. "Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Lang from Ridgeview Clinic assessed him." I stared at the papers he handed over. The signature at the bottom was real, but the date wasn't. The exam they claimed had happened in May. That was the same week I'd been in Colorado, attending a firefighter's memorial. I opened my mouth, but my attorney, a court-appointed stranger who'd met me 15 minutes earlier, put a hand on my arm. "Let's stay calm, Mr. Turner." Stay calm. They were turning me into a ghost while I was sitting right there breathing. The judge ordered a temporary guardianship pending review. Ryan was granted authority over my financial management and property decisions. My own daughter didn't even look at me. When we left the courtroom, reporters weren't waiting, but neighbors might as well have been. News spreads faster than wildfire when humiliation is involved. By the next morning, My bank card stopped working. My truck was gone from the driveway. I found a note taped to the fridge. We moved you to the guest room until we can figure things out. Don't stress, Dad. We love you. E. I wasn't angry. I was something worse, clear. That night, while they slept, I pulled my old laptop from the closet. The cloud drive was still active. I logged in and watched. The footage was time-stamped 2 weeks earlier, the night they made their plan. Emily's voice whispering, "He won't fight it, Ryan. He's tired." He doesn't have to. Once guardianship goes through, we can refinance and list before year-end. He'll never know we used his ID for the signature. I paused the video. My own daughter, the baby I'd carried through burning smoke once when our kitchen caught fire, was calmly discussing how to erase me. I downloaded everything: video files, transcripts, audio backups. Then I drove to my friend Mark Jennings, a retired sheriff who owed me more than one favor. He watched the footage in silence, jaw tightening. "Mike, that's fraud and coercion, possibly elder abuse even if you're under 50. You want to play this smart?" "I want to play it right," I said. He nodded. "Then let's build a record, quietly. You can't win sympathy until you prove pattern and motive." Over the next 2 weeks, we met every night at his garage, turning evidence into a timeline. Ryan's forged medical form, Emily's access to my accounts, a withdrawal of $18,400 labeled home renovation. But nothing had been repaired. Meanwhile, they kept tightening the noose. Ryan changed the house alarm code. My mail disappeared. Even the dogs started sleeping in their room. The final straw came one Sunday afternoon. Ryan brought a realtor by, a woman named Paula Kent, to assess market value. "Dad," Emily said sweetly, "we're just exploring options." I smiled. "That's fine, honey. Just make sure the camera gets my good side." Ryan frowned. "What camera?" I pointed to the pantry. "The one that's been recording since Grace's birthday. The one you two keep forgetting about." He blanched. Emily's smile froze. They didn't know I'd already shared the footage with Mark, and that he'd passed it to an attorney named Linda Cross, a probate specialist who didn't do free favors but did love poetic justice. That night, I overheard Ryan whisper, "We need to move fast, before he gets clever." Too late, because the man they'd declared incompetent had just finished uploading their entire fraud to a private online drive, time-stamped, geotagged, and ready for court. And for the first time in weeks, I slept soundly. 2 days later, I came home to find my key didn't fit the lock. The door handle had been changed, shiny brass instead of the old nickel one Grace had picked. Through the window, I could see Ryan's toolbox on the counter, empty beer cans beside it. I knocked. Emily opened the door halfway. "Dad, please don't make this harder." "Harder?" I asked quietly. "You changed my locks." She sighed, eyes wet but steady. That rehearsed guilt she used to pull in high school when caught lying. "The court said Ryan's responsible for the property now. It's just until things settle." "Things are settled," I said. "I live here." Ryan's voice drifted from behind her. "You'll thank us one day, Mike. We're protecting your assets." I didn't argue. I just looked at my daughter for a long moment, memorizing the face that used to run to me after nightmares. Then I turned and walked down the driveway, hearing the deadbolt click behind me like a full stop. Within a week, my world shrank to a motel room on the edge of town. I tried calling a few friends from the department. No answers. Orion must have been working the phones, feeding the story that I'd lost it after Grace's death. The pastor from our church even came by the motel. "Michael," he said gently, Maybe you should trust your daughter. Guardianship doesn't mean she doesn't love you. I stared at the man who'd officiated our wedding. Then maybe love means something different where you come from. He didn't stay long after that. The motel manager slid my mail under the door. Bills mostly. 2 envelopes addressed to Guardian Ryan Turner. That was the first time I saw my name legally tied to his in the same line. Like I'd been adopted by my own thief. One night, I drove past my old house. Through the front window, I saw strangers sitting at my table. Emily's friends, laughing, drinking wine, taking selfies in a home they said I couldn't manage anymore. I didn't stop, just parked across the street, engine running, and whispered to myself, let them have their party. They don't know it's being recorded. Every new clip uploaded automatically to the cloud. Every sentence, from Dad won't notice to just forge it, saved, tagged, backed up twice. But isolation cuts deep, even when you're winning quietly. Some mornings I woke up thinking maybe they were right. Maybe grief had scrambled me. Maybe I was clinging to walls that belonged to a ghost. Then, I'd open my laptop, watch Emily's recorded smirk as she signed my name on a sale contract, and remember exactly why I was doing this. Mark checked in often. They're pushing you to break, he warned. If you lose your temper, they'll call it proof. I'm not breaking, I said. I'm documenting. Meanwhile, Ryan's realtor, Paula, kept calling for appraisals. They were rushing to list the house under his guardianship authority. But Linda, my attorney, filed something first. A motion to review guardianship validity citing potential fraud and misrepresentation. It bought me 10 days. 10 days to stay invisible, calm, and patient. Grace used to say patience isn't silence, it's preparation. So I prepared. Every file, every timestamp, every bank transfer. I printed them all and sealed them in a folder labeled for court use only. Then I opened a new one and wrote something on the cover I hadn't felt in months. Freedom Plan. If they wanted to prove I was incompetent, I was about to show them how methodical madness could look when it finally had a purpose. The first crack in their perfect story came from someone I didn't even know. Paula Kent, the realtor. She called my motel phone one afternoon, her voice cautious. Mr. Turner, I'm sorry to bother you, but I thought you should know your house is being listed for sale. I assumed you'd signed off, but something about the paperwork didn't sit right. I kept my tone even. What made you call me? The signature, she said. I've seen your name before, on the original deed from years ago. This one looks traced. I'm not getting involved, but you didn't hear this from me. She hung up fast, like the call itself was radioactive. But I had what I needed, an outside witness confirming forgery suspicion. I forwarded the voicemail to Linda, my attorney. She called back within minutes. That's our corroboration, she said. If we can prove the house was listed under false guardianship authority, we'll collapse their whole case. Meanwhile, Ryan doubled down on the public image. He updated the family Facebook page, posting photos of Dad relaxing and recovering. A staged shot of me from last year sitting in the garden, smiling. The caption, "Healing together, blessed to care for him." It got 200 likes and a dozen comments calling them saints. I read every one of them from the motel room and smiled, not because it was funny, but because every lie they posted stacked higher, and I was about to let gravity do its job. Linda arranged a quiet meeting with the bank manager, Mr. Lawson, to review recent withdrawals. Guardianship access authorized by court, he said, flipping through pages. Large transfers to accounts under Ryan Turner's name, some labeled as maintenance, others as medical. Medical for who? Linda asked. He hesitated. There's no patient record attached. She closed her folder. Thank you for your cooperation, Mr. Lawson. You may be subpoenaed soon. The man looked uneasy. I had a feeling something wasn't right, he admitted. That was witness number 2. The next morning, Emily showed up at my motel. I didn't let her in. Dad, she pleaded through the door, you're embarrassing yourself. This is spiraling out of control. I stayed silent. She sniffled. Ryan says you've been contacting people, spreading lies. You're hurting our reputation. I opened the door just enough for her to see my face. You already did that for me. Her composure cracked. You're choosing strangers over your own blood. No, I said quietly. I'm choosing truth over thieves. She flinched like I'd struck her. You'll regret this. When she left, I texted Mark. They're panicking. He replied, Good. Panic makes people careless. Keep recording. 2 days later, I got an email alert. New video uploaded to Cloud Kitchen Cam, 10:43 p.m. I played it. Ryan pacing near the counter, glass of whiskey in hand. She's losing it, Em. He's got lawyers. He's gonna ruin us. We'll fix it, she said. Delete the emails, move the funds. He can't prove anything without paper trails. And the videos? I disabled the cameras. Except she hadn't. That single clip was the missing link, proof of intent. Not just theft, but concealment. Linda nearly shouted when I showed her. This is the nail in the coffin, Michael. We'll file for an emergency injunction before they can sell. The next day, she served them papers at the open house. Paula, the realtor, later told me what happened. Ryan tried to smile through it, pretending it was a misunderstanding. Emily's face went pale. The buyers left within minutes. That night, social media turned. Someone, probably Paula, leaked the footage snippet online. A 30-second clip of Ryan saying, he can't prove anything without paper trails. The post spread fast. This man tried to sell his own father-in-law's house after declaring him incompetent. Modern elder abuse is real. Within 24 hours, Ryan shut down all his accounts. Emily's friends started texting her publicly. What's going on? You okay? Is this true? The daughter who'd humiliated me behind closed doors was now living inside the humiliation she'd earned. I didn't celebrate. I just watched the notifications roll in and thought of Grace. She would have told me not to gloat. So I didn't. But I did print every comment, every post, every timestamp, another layer of social proof for court. Because in this country, justice doesn't start with outrage. It starts with evidence. And I had all of it. The morning after the video leaked, Ryan's lawyer filed an emergency motion to suspend defamatory actions. Translation: they were bleeding publicly, and they wanted the bleeding to stop. But by then, something much bigger had happened. Linda called me early, her voice charged. Michael, you need to come to my office. Now. There's a development. When I arrived, she slid a stack of papers across her desk. You didn't tell me your late wife had a secondary life insurance policy tied to the mortgage. I frowned. She canceled it years ago. No, Linda said, tapping a page. She converted it, privately, into a survivor protection trust. The beneficiary listed, Emily Turner, contingent upon good faith management of estate funds. Meaning if your daughter mishandled or misused assets, the policy reverts to you. I blinked. How much? She met my eyes. $250,000. I laughed once, bitterly. Grace always was the careful one. Linda leaned forward. This changes everything. The trust triggers a forensic audit of every financial action under Emily's guardianship. every forged signature, every renovation expense. The insurer will investigate, not us. They'll do our job for free. It was poetic. Grace's quiet planning becoming the fuse for the downfall of the daughter who'd betrayed her. By that afternoon, the insurance company froze all accounts tied to the guardianship. The house sale halted, the title company withdrew. Ryan's business credit line, gone. I didn't have to lift a finger. Ryan stormed into Linda's office the next morning while I was there, face red, tie loose. "You can't do this! Those funds were for upkeep. The estate needs liquidity." Linda smiled like a woman watching a slow car crash. "Then you should have thought about that before forging your father-in-law's consent." "You can't prove I—" She opened her laptop. One click, and the screen showed the pantry video. His voice filled the room. "Delete the emails, move the funds. He can't prove anything without paper trails." Ryan's jaw locked. Emily stood behind him, pale, trembling. "Dad, please," she whispered. "It got out of hand." I looked at her, not like a father, but like a man identifying a stranger. "You filed me under incompetent, Emily. You erased me." Tears filled her eyes. "We just wanted to secure the house." "For who?" I asked. "You, or the bank accounts in your name?" Ryan snapped. "We kept you fed and sheltered, old man." Linda stood. "Mr. Turner, that'll be enough. You're both advised to leave before I call the sheriff to escort you out." They left. The door clicked shut like punctuation. Linda exhaled. "They're scared, Michael, and fear makes people sloppy." She was right. That evening, Ryan transferred what was left of their savings into a separate account, forgetting that the forensic audit system automatically flags large transfers. The insurer's fraud division traced the route in under a day. When the news broke, the local paper ran a headline: "Guardianship Fraud Investigation Expands. Daughter, son-in-law accused of asset misuse." Underneath, a quote from an unnamed legal source, Linda, obviously, read, "Evidence suggests deliberate exploitation of a family member under false guardianship claims." Emily called me that night, sobbing. "Dad, the police came. They took Ryan's computer. I didn't know it would go this far." "You filed the paperwork," I said quietly. "You signed the lies." She sniffled. "Can we talk? Please, just us." I hesitated. Part of me still wanted to protect her. But the other part, the part Grace would have called the fire inspector's instinct, knew when to let a structure burn out. "Talk in court," I said, and hung up. 2 hours later, Mark texted me. "They're trying to liquidate the remaining joint account." Want to bet it's caught by morning? It was. By sunrise, every financial avenue Ryan had touched was frozen under federal review. His company vehicles repossessed. His business license flagged for investigation. For years, I'd fought real fires with hoses and foam. But this was cleaner. As the day ended, I walked past my old house. The for sale sign was gone, the yard empty, the curtains drawn. The same camera that had recorded my downfall had now recorded their collapse. In the soft evening light, I whispered to the house, "Grace, you saved me twice, once from the flames, and once from our own blood." And for the first time in months, I felt something I hadn't known I missed. Not revenge, control. The courtroom smelled like paper and cold coffee, the kind of air where truth either dies or gets reborn. I sat at the plaintiff's table beside Linda. Across from me, Emily and Ryan, flanked by their attorney, a man named Crawford who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The bailiff called for order. The judge, Honorable Miriam Ochoa, adjusted her glasses and said, "We're here to review the guardianship petition of Michael Turner." and related financial allegations. Crawford stood first. Your Honor, my clients acted solely in concern for Mr. Turner's well-being. Their petition was prompted by erratic behavior and memory lapses. Linda rose. We'll challenge that claim with evidence, Your Honor, beginning with Exhibit A. She connected her laptop to the courtroom monitor. The video appeared, my kitchen, late at night. Ryan's voice filled the speakers. Delete the emails, move the funds. He can't prove anything without paper trails. A murmur rippled through the courtroom. The judge leaned forward. Is that your voice, Mr. Turner? Ryan froze. It's taken out of context. Context? Linda said. This was recorded 5 days before the guardianship filing. Exhibit B shows an email sent by Mr. Turner the next morning confirming deletion of records. Ryan's lawyer rubbed his forehead. Objection. Hearsay. Overruled, Judge Ochoa said, eyes sharp. Continue. Next, Linda displayed the forged deed Paula, the realtor, had flagged. Note the traced signature, she said, and note the verified signature on Mr. Turner's 2015 refinancing document. They're not the same hand. Paula herself testified. When I saw the paperwork, I knew it wasn't genuine. That's why I called Mr. Turner directly. It didn't feel right. Ryan's attorney tried to pivot. Your Honor, even if certain documents were misfiled, my clients acted with the intent to protect. The judge cut him off. Protection does not involve asset transfer into personal accounts. Then came the audit. The insurance company's forensic accountant testified that $187,000 in guardianship funds had been redirected to an LLC under Ryan Turner's name, RT Family Holdings. Ryan's shoulders slumped. Emily's lips trembled. Linda closed her folder. Your Honor, this is not a misunderstanding. This was a calculated attempt to seize control of a living parent's estate under false claims of incompetence. Judge Ochoa turned to me. Mr. Turner, do you wish to speak before the court renders a decision? I stood. My knees cracked, but my voice didn't. I've spent my life putting out fires. I never thought the biggest one would start in my own house. My wife trusted me to protect what we built, and I trusted my daughter to do the same. I was wrong, but I'm not broken, and I'm not incompetent. I glanced at Emily. Her eyes were red, glistening. You wanted control, I said quietly. You forgot who taught you how to build things, how to earn them. She whispered, Dad, please. Judge Ochoa looked at her. Miss Turner, you forged documents, misappropriated funds, and submitted false statements under oath. Do you understand the gravity of that? Emily sobbed, nodding. Ryan just stared at the table. The court finds sufficient evidence of financial fraud, coercion, and abuse of guardianship process, the judge said. The petition to declare Mr. Turner incompetent is hereby dismissed with prejudice. Control of all estate assets is restored to Mr. Turner, effective immediately. The gavel fell like thunder. Ryan muttered under his breath, You'll regret this, old man. I turned to him slowly. I already did, for trusting you. 2 deputies escorted them out for processing. The judge had added possible criminal referral to the order. Linda whispered, You did it. I didn't smile, I just exhaled. For months, every breath had carried the weight of betrayal. Now it was just air. As we stepped outside, the press was waiting, cameras flashing, microphones everywhere. Someone shouted, Mr. Turner, what do you plan to do now? I said, Live my life, my way. That night I went back to the house. It was quiet again. Not empty, just honest. I stood in the kitchen where everything had begun, looking at the faint reflection of myself in the dark window. I wasn't the same man who'd once believed love automatically meant loyalty. I'd learned that sometimes, the only way to protect your legacy is to burn the lies built on top of it. And as I switched off the lights, I whispered to the darkness, "Grace, it's over. The house is safe." 2 weeks after the hearing, I received a letter. No return address. Just my name in handwriting I knew by heart. Emily. I almost threw it away, but curiosity, or maybe weakness, made me open it. "Dad, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me. I don't expect you to. I wanted security. I wanted control. Maybe that makes me my mother's opposite. She built. I took. I see that now. I'll be paying for it the rest of my life. Ryan's facing charges. They said I can avoid prison if I testify fully. I will. I'll tell them everything. You don't need to speak to me again, but please know I never stopped loving you, even when I forgot what love actually meant." I read it 3 times. The handwriting got shakier with each paragraph, like guilt itself weighed on the pen. Linda asked later, "Will you respond?" I shook my head. Not yet. Maybe someday, but not while she's still learning what truth costs. In the months that followed, people kept calling me brave. Reporters wanted follow-up interviews. Advocacy groups for elder justice asked if I'd tell my story publicly. I declined everyone, because this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about drawing a line, one Grace would have approved of. I fixed the garden first, pulled the weeds Emily never noticed, repainted the shutters, donated her furniture, the expensive things that never belonged in this house to begin with. Each act was small, but it felt like reclaiming breath after a long fire. Then one afternoon, a police detective called. "Mr. Turner, your daughter's been cooperative. She turned over emails, receipts, full confessions. The DA is recommending leniency, probation instead of prison." I said quietly, "That's fair. She's already serving a sentence she gave herself." When I hung up, I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. Anger had been the fuel that carried me through the betrayal. But once the fire was out, all that was left was the rebuilding. A week later, I mailed Emily one line. "You broke me once, but you're the one who has to live with the ashes. Learn from them." That's the only forgiveness I can give. No signature, just the truth. I stood by the mailbox for a while, watching the truck take it away, wondering if Grace would have said I was too harsh or finally right. Maybe both. 6 months later, I walked through the same front door that once held my whole life hostage. The locks were new, the air lighter. No tension, no lies, just silence, honest and clean. There was a time I thought peace had to be earned through forgiveness. But peace, I learned, doesn't need permission. It begins when you stop explaining your pain to people who caused it. I set my toolbox on the counter and looked around the kitchen. The walls still bore faint patches from where Ryan's fancy espresso machine once stood. The space was mine again, stripped of luxury, full of oxygen. The house didn't just survive, it healed. Maybe I did too. Every morning, I walked past Grace's rose garden and clipped a single bloom. She'd always said, "Nothing beautiful grows without pruning." She was right. I just never thought she meant people. Sometimes I'd get letters from advocacy groups, asking if I wanted to share my story publicly, as a warning about elder financial abuse. Maybe one day I will. But for now, I don't need to relive it for strangers. I already lived it once for real. One evening, as the sun went down over the fence line, I heard footsteps crunching the gravel. It was Mark, my neighbor, the same one who'd helped me recover the camera footage. He held out a beer. "Could use a hand fixing that shed door again," he said. I smiled. "You always wait until sunset to ask for help?" He grinned. "You're less likely to say no when it's this pretty out." We sat on the porch, drinking in comfortable silence, watching the light fade from gold to amber. "You ever miss her?" he asked softly. "Every day," I said. "But I think she'd be proud I finally learned how to stand alone." Mark nodded. "You didn't just stand, Mike. You built a wall of truth around yourself, the kind that doesn't fall." That night, I took Grace's wedding ring from the small wooden box in my drawer. I didn't wear it. I just held it in my palm and whispered, "Your girl learned what love isn't. I learned what love costs. But we made it, Grace. We made it." The next morning, I started volunteering at the local fire safety program, teaching new recruits how to spot hidden faults before they burn down a house. It felt poetic, teaching others how to prevent collapse, in buildings and in life. Sometimes I still get calls from Emily. I don't answer, not out of hate, just because silence is the only language left between us. One day, maybe I'll answer, but not yet. When people ask how I survived it all, I tell them the truth. I didn't survive because I was strong. I survived because I refused to let their version of me be the last one standing. This story doesn't end with revenge. It ends with clarity. Because the real victory isn't taking back what they stole. It's remembering who you were before they touched it. I choose me. Tell me what you'd do. Drop your story and subscribe. Revenge Stories, Men U50 USA.